My client, Noah Abatne, got called up to the Canadian national team, won the Canadian Premier League, got nominated for multiple awards, and also went on trial at a few clubs in England and Scotland after working with me for 2 months, and this is exactly how we did it. Now, before I get into the video, if you're familiar with my videos, then you'll understand that the route I take to sports psychology is not the typical way. I am into metaphysical knowledge, esoteric knowledge, and knowledge of the mind that isn't typically spoken about or really even heard of in everyday places. So when I started working with Noah, it was a great process, but it was definitely something that people are not typically used to, especially in the football industry. So what I ultimately do is I work with professional footballers, helping them elevate their mind so they can elevate their game. Because true success first begins in the mind. And I've had clients at the Prem level at Chelsea, at Brentford, down to Reading at League Two, players playing in Europe, in Czech, and of course my Canadian client as well, Noah, which we have had some great success with, which I'm happy to break down how we did it and the process behind the success. So the backstory is Noah followed me on social media about April last year, and we began speaking briefly. We had a little consultation call where I got to understand what he wants out of his career and just how his mind works. And one of the first things that stood out to me about Noah was belief systems, right? And the thing about belief systems is that a lot of footballers typically think similarly when it comes to their career. And this particular belief was the belief that going from the Canadian League to, let's say, to Europe or to top clubs in general will be a long process and it will be hard. And now we have to talk about belief systems because when you begin to understand how the mind works, you understand that belief systems ultimately rule your life and you make the rules for your own life. So if you believe deep within yourself that the journey you're about to go on will be very hard, will have obstacles, will have challenges, then that's exactly how it will be. Because you have to understand that reality is created from your mind, from your subconscious mind. I call it the womb of your reality. And yeah, so when I was talking to Noah and I saw these beliefs, I was like, yeah, we have to correct these things because these things will ultimately hold him back. And it wasn't until about November we actually began working properly. So in November of last year, we began working. And like I just said about the belief systems, the first things I did was we changed the belief systems that we had within his mind. So we changed the belief systems and the common beliefs and the beliefs to do with himself, the beliefs to do with his career, and to do with football in general. Because ultimately, you have to understand that in life, whatever is normal to you internally within your mind will ultimately become your reality, will become how your life is. So if you think things will be hard, that's exactly how they're going to be. If you think going from this club to another club will be a long process, that's exactly how it will be because you set the rules for your own life and your subconscious mind is the creator of your reality. So what we did is now, rather than thinking from where he is, I asked him about his desires again and where he wanted to go in his career. And of course, like all players really, everybody wants to go to the top. They want to play at a top club. They want to play in top championships. They want to play in the Champions League. They want to do all this stuff. So what we began doing was began operating from the state and the frequency of already being that player. Because like I said to you, reality is created through you. So ultimately, your career is created through you, and the path you go on is created through you. So if you're in a state right now where everything's gonna be hard, it's gonna be a challenge, it's gonna be an uphill battle, then you have basically planted the seeds for that to unfold because of the state you're currently standing in. Now, if you were to switch the state and the frequency that you're in by stepping into the frequency of the player you already want to be through your thinking, through your beliefs, then surely the career and the reality that unfolds in front of you will be different, right? So with that being said, I began asking him, if you were the player that you already wanted to be, if you were already where you wanted to be, how would you think? How would you think about yourself? How would you think about football? How would you think about things day to day? What would you believe about yourself? What would you believe about football? What would you believe is possible for yourself? If you were the player that you wanted to be right now, what would these things be? And of course, he was like, wow, yes, it will be very different. If he, if think about it now, if you're a footballer, if you were the player that you wanted to be right now, I'm pretty sure in your mind, things would be easy. Achieving things would be easy. You'd see them as possible with ease. The path wouldn't be hard for you because you'd have ultimate confidence in yourself because you are who you want to be already. You're not waiting to become this player to become confident, to start believing in yourself because you are already that player. Now, that's where a lot of players go wrong, is that they're waiting for their career to change before they start believing in themselves. But that is not how it goes because, like I just said, reality is created through you. So if you're in a state of waiting, or one day I'll be this player, one day this is how it's going to go, then you're going to be waiting forever because reality is created through you. And after going to universal law here, you have to understand that you emit a frequency outwards to the universe, and the universe responds to that frequency, which ultimately brings the reality that you want into your life. So if you're in a state of waiting, one day I'll be this player, one day things will go right and I'll start feeling good, then you're emitting a frequency that is extremely weak outwards to the universe. But what you're ultimately going to get is exactly what you're asking for. You're going to get challenge. You're going to get all the things that you don't want. If you think, like I said with Noah, like thinking that it's going to be a really uphill battle, it's going to be really, really hard, then because that is how you think, the universe is going to give you exactly what you want because this is what it thinks you want. And when it comes to the subconscious mind, it doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's fake, what you actually want and what you don't want. It knows what is occupied within your mind. So, like I said, if you're in a state of it's going to be really tough, then you're going to get exactly what you want. And you're going to get a career path that's going to be tough, challenging, and uphill, filled with obstacles. But if you step into the state and the frequency of already being the player that you want to be, then you're now thinking differently. The thoughts that are going into your mind are now different. Your belief system has become different. The way you see life has become different. Therefore, the way life sees you will be different. So now think about it like this. If you get rid of all those ideas that's going to be an uphill battle, it's going to be really, really hard, it's going to be a challenge, then the universe is like, cool, let me give this person exactly what he wants. Let me give him opportunities with ease. Let me clear the path for him so that when he's playing his football, he's doing his thing, what he wants is going to come into fruition with a lot more ease because his mind is at ease. And reality is a mirror of your mind, as within, as without. Now, when it comes to your frequency, the things that I wanted him to focus on was his thinking day to day, his belief systems, his reaction to things in life and in football, because reaction is massive. And the reason why reaction is massive is because reaction ultimately indicates who you really are. And a way that I can say this is to make it easy for everyone to understand this. Let's say with money, yeah. If you're trying to step into the frequency of somebody with money, but the minute you have a money issue in your life, for example, you get a ticket or you owe somebody money, or maybe you lose money. If your reaction is, damn, like, I need that money, oh damn, this is so bad. This is the worst thing ever. Then you're ultimately telling on yourself that you're not really an individual with money, and it doesn't matter whether you have money on you or not. I'm talking about internally. Do you have the consciousness level of somebody with money? Because, like I said to you before, reality is created through you. Your internal state dictates your external state. So, the reason why reaction was a massive thing was because if you are truly the player that you want to be right now, how would you react to things and how would you do things differently as opposed to how you normally would? Maybe in a match, you have a bad game. How would you react to that if you were the player that you wanted to be? Would a bad game ruin everything? Would a few mistakes in a match ruin everything? Or would you keep believing in yourself with the same conviction regardless of what's going on around you? Think about how the elite players are. Someone like Ronaldo. We see Ronaldo do crazy things in the game all the time. Misses opportunities, tries a skill, doesn't work. But guess what? He's going to try again because he knows who he is. And he is that player 100% internally. And he's been the same throughout his whole career in terms of his belief level and the way he sees himself. You can see it because of the things he tries, what he does, and even how he carries himself, how he talks about himself. You can see that he's an individual that believes in himself 100% regardless of what's going on around him, sorry. So so yeah. So reactions. How do you react to life, reality, football if you were the player that you wanted to be? And that is massive. And what would you give your attention to on a day to day? Like what things would you just give your attention to? How do you operate through life? Like if you were the player that you wanted to be right now and that person that you wanted to be, what things would get your attention? What things would take your energy? You know what I mean? Like what would you do differently if you were the player that you wanted to be? And these are the things that change who you are completely because you need to completely shift states for your reality and for your career to shift. You have to completely change who you are. And once we had gotten all these things down and got his thinking, his beliefs, his attention, his reaction in alignment with the player that he wanted to be, it's now making daily conscious efforts to remember this and to stay in this frequency, to not slip out of it. And if you do slip out of it, to not spiral and tumble down, but to quickly correct it and step back into it. And that takes discipline. So that is where the true work comes in because you're ultimately changing who you are internally completely. You're getting rid of the old you and you're stepping into the new you. And that takes discipline, that takes practice, and that takes conscious effort that most people just don't do because most people live their life on autopilot. If something goes wrong, they let it mess them up completely. If something goes good, they feel amazing. But the elite people in life feel the same regardless of whether things are good or whether things are bad. And that is the secret. If you're able to maintain a certain state for long enough, whether things are going well or whether things are going bad, then your reality will change because that is universal law and that is how reality works. Now, the next thing we started doing was using visualization. And this is something I speak about a lot in my videos, especially recently. And what we started doing was, of course, he wants to progress in his career and take himself to higher heights, right? Like all players want to do. Now, what we started doing was we began visualizing seeing himself at a team that suits him the best. And there's a way of visualizing correctly, and what you want to do is you want to see it in first person, and you want to allow your visualizations to bring an emotion out of you. So when he's seeing himself at a team that suits him, maybe he's going to a new club, maybe he's seeing his while he's going to a new club, he's seeing maybe his parents there congratulating him for going to a new club. And seeing his parents in the visualization congratulating him is enough to spark an emotion inside of him. Now, remember how I said to you at the start that the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what is real and what's fake, it knows what is? It's highly impressed upon by emotion. So if you're sparking an emotion inside your mind and your subconscious mind that aligns with what you want to do, which is in his case elevating his career, then that's the exact thing that is going to go into the subconscious, and the subconscious mind would then push that outwards into reality, and reality would now bring you what you want back. And what began happening was the first shifts that we saw was that, of course, he began playing better. He started feeling a lot better on the pitch. Like you said in the testimonial that he made for me, was that he started playing the best football of his life. So that led to him being nominated for multiple awards. I think it was the best the best defender under 21 he was nominated for. He didn't win, unfortunately, but nominations are amazing. They get your name out there and they get people talking about you and they get you in the eye of, of world football, honestly. And clearly so, because the next thing that happened was he got invited to on trial at Salford City in Manchester and St Mirren in Scotland. And I actually went to go meet him up in Manchester. We had a little dinner. It was a good time, and yeah, it was just nice to see him in person. But those were the first things that happened, and yeah, just like it sounds crazy, but this is how it goes when you get into the correct frequency. You begin attracting what you want in your life, and this is how things go. This is how things go when you get your mind into the correct state. And this is exactly what I work with my clients. This is exactly what I do with my clients. And if you're a professional footballer who wants to take your career to the next level through elevating your mind, then DM me on Instagram at T9Leverup and we'll definitely get to work. It's the most important work. It's the most important work you'll do, and the return on investment is limitless if you can step into a limitless mindset. And to speak on what we were doing, so the belief systems, step into the frequency of who you wanted to be, the visualization, of course, we have the action. The action of doing what you need to do day to day. You have to do these things. Like, you have to train correctly, you have to eat correctly, you have to sleep correctly. We can't just focus on the mind only. We have to do the correct things in the physical. We have to keep playing well. We have to keep training to our highest level. We have to keep on the ball, because it's not enough to just work on the mental. It's not enough to just work in the physical. Most players only work in the physical, and that's not enough. You have to balance the both of them. And once you do that, the world's your oyster. The world is your oyster. Anything's possible. So as we began doing that, we kept on progressing. Things went on as normal. There was a few clubs interested, stuff like that. But we just kept on the ball. We kept maintaining frequency. And one thing that's really important after all this is, once you're in the new frequency, you have to let go. And let go and let God, I call it. Let go and let God. Let go and let the universe. Because how the things come into your life that you want happen, it's not up to you. Because we have got a finite mind. We have got a finite mind that cannot. We don't know all the outcomes. We haven't got the infinite mind. That's God. That's the universe. So we get into the frequency, and then we let go and let God and do what we need to do day to day and maintain frequency, and God will do the rest. That's how it goes. The infinite intelligence, the infinite mind will do the rest. That is how it goes. So with that being said, we kept on maintaining, doing what we need to do. And then one day I was driving, I got a text. He said, "Bro, I just got called up for the Canadian national team." And I just started laughing, because it's just funny that this is how it goes. When you're in the correct frequency, this is how things go. This is how things go. Things happen that honestly are unimaginable. You wouldn't even have thought they would go like this, but this is how they go. When you step into the correct frequency of who you really want to be, when you begin operating from a limitless mind, when you open your mind to all possibilities are open to you because you have now opened the door to the possibility. But if you're in a state of mind that things are going to be hard, things are going to be long, then you have closed the doors to ease. You have closed the doors to things coming to you quickly. And that's not to say that things just magically appear out of nowhere. No, you have to maintain, you have to still work hard the same way you would with anything. It's not a magic trick. But when you're in the correct state, magic happens. Do you understand that? And that's how it went. That's how it went. And it was amazing to see. It was amazing to see. But it's all about having the limitless mindset and just maintaining frequency. Maintain frequency, and anything is possible, honestly. So yeah, he went to make his Canadian national team debut and got a few minutes in there. I think it was 20 minutes, he said. But that is the start of his journey now. On to higher heights. He put himself on the map now. So congratulations, man! Shout out Noah. What an amazing achievement. And like I said, if you're a professional footballer and you want to take your career to the next level through elevating your mind, then DM me on Instagram at T9Lever and we will definitely get to work. Peace.